Hello everyone, this is Apom, and today I'm going to be playing Mini Motorways in Los Angeles. So the goal of this video is to share some of the tips and strategies that I've learned while playing Mini Motorways and hopefully beat my high score. So my high score in Los Angeles is currently around 7,900, but I think that there is room for improvement because I was making some simple mistakes while planning out my city. The first thing I just want to point out is that I like to have every house paired with exactly one business or store. So these yellow houses are going to connect to this business, and this road is only going to contain yellow cars. If there happen to be two yellow businesses, these cars leaving the houses actually have a choice of which business they're going to go to, and sometimes they take the longer one, and that is not what you want. So here I'm going to do the first of what is probably many changes in my infrastructure, and I'm going to point these yellow cars to go around the red cars, even if it's a non-direct path to that business, because I want to keep the roads clear. I'm also going to pick the roundabout here instead of the traffic lights, because the traffic lights aren't very useful. But I'm also going to essentially what I call leave favorable spawning space. So instead of having this road here, I'm going to wrap this road down one and let houses spawn in this area over here. Now we have a second yellow business that has spawned. For now, I'll connect it like this, but eventually these two yellow houses are probably going to come around the left here. Now, one thing that you do want to pay attention to is blocking out areas where you don't want businesses to spawn. So I don't want a business spawning in the middle here because that would sort of interrupt this red road that I have working here, because we would need to feed into that business somewhere here, and the red road would have to either be redirected or have an intersection, and currently the red road is in a pretty good spot, so I'm happy with that. And so later in the game, once these block buildings turn into skyscrapers, one thing that you're gonna have to focus on is how you're going to supply those size skyscrapers. So I'll pick a bridge here because we're starting to get closer to the LA River, and I have a roundabout to spare, and it's pretty likely that I'll be building a bridge sometime soon. So I will have to eventually supply this red block building over there, but I'm in no hurry. There's still plenty of time to figure things out. And I think for right now I can just draw this line. And yes, I know this is an intersection, but eventually I'll clean this up. Right now there's not too much demand to make sure that my roads are super clean. So later on in the game, it's good to have a sort of count in your head about how many houses are needed to fulfill a business and all of its demand. Typically, if you have a short road like this one, maybe 4 or 5 houses are all you're going to need. But with this longer yellow path, for instance, you might need 6 or 7 houses supplying a skyscraper in total. So I'll just keep in mind in the late game, these yellow houses are not going to be sufficient to fulfill the demands for these two block buildings, especially if they become skyscrapers later on. So there I took the motorway. I almost always take the motorway when available. Sometimes you need extra road tiles, but if you need a bridge or a roundabout, a motorway is a great way of pretending that you have one of those and just ignoring the fact that the motorway can go wherever it wants. So it's a great tool to sort of delay your decision making, as well as give you the flexibility to work around existing roads and avoiding intersections or needing bridges. So right now the game is, not too difficult. I'm just lining up businesses to stores, and I think I should be able to wrap around this yellow now, which is what I wanted to do. And I think for now we'll keep this yellow going this way, and now this frees up this space. And I do need to block this business off, this area from business spawning again. And now I'm just going to pair this yellow into that because I don't want my houses to be split up by other businesses. This is actually one of the most difficult choices in the game. It's really up to you what you want. I'm going to take the motorway just because I think it gives me more flexibility. But if you are the type of person who likes to block out spawning spaces where they don't want businesses to spawn, 30 road tiles is really invaluable for doing that. And so the way I'm using my roads to block out spawning areas is essentially looking at these 3x2 areas like this and saying, hey, can I afford to have a building spawn there, yes or no? And if the answer is no, then I will block that out. Just note that buildings can spawn vertically, and there's also bigger lots, which some people don't like. I think that they're okay because they have a lot of parking spaces, and that means that later in the game there's going to be less congestion. Alright, so now we are starting to see buildings in more remote locations. I have envisioned that these reds are probably going to end up going to this lot, but there's a chance that we might get spawns elsewhere. I think for now I will just delay my decision making and use a motorway to sort of stave off this red from ending my game too early. And in a similar capacity, I will take another motorway so that I can fulfill this yellow here. Now this is a very important moment right here. I need to connect this red house to this motorway right away because I want these red houses to be able to continue working alongside each other throughout the game. And so if I don't take measures to ensure that these are connected, there might be houses that end up spawning in places where I can't exactly connect them to each other, and then they can't all end up on the same motorway and cross the map together, which is not a good thing. So it's good to sort of put these free roads that you get. Every house gives you a free road. It's good to keep them at least one tile away from another road. So for instance, in this situation here with these greenhouses, a house would not be able to spawn below this square and below this square in these two squares. And so we would be able to guarantee that these end up connected. But for now, I'm just going to connect them to the businesses that they're actually serving. And here I will take another motorway. The bridges are nice, but I do have 2 bridges and plenty of roads to spare. But eventually I am going to have to sort of think about what I'm doing with some of my road tiles. So I think for now I can sort of ignore this road here. It seems like everything is working fine with just one supplier and maybe 2 red houses there. And I might even end up turning this into a bridge depending on how things turn out. But as soon as this blue house is spawning, I'm just making sure to connect it to the feeding system that I have set up here. This is a bit weird of a spawn for blue here because it is blocking off this second lot, but we'll have to see what color that second lot ends up being. Most likely we'll end up building a bridge, something like this, depending on what needs to be sourced, but there's also a chance that we just use a motorway to solve that issue. Alright, so let's take a quick look at where we can afford businesses to be. So that would be here, because I do need this blue road running here. Now I have the choice between a roundabout and a bridge. I'll take a roundabout just because I only have one. I'm not choosing to use any because I don't really have any intersections that are problematic at the moment, but you never know when that case might arise. So something that I'm thinking about doing right now is actually splitting up this blue road. Like I said, I want one house to be pointed towards one business. So I'm going to split this road into 2 parallel roads, and with that we're just going to have to think about how much we want to source to each. So we have 4, 8, 9 houses in total, so it probably makes sense to put maybe 5 or 6 on this skyscraper, and then the remainder will go on to this road. And I think from there it's just a matter of deciding how exactly you want to route those. So I think I'll pull 3 from there, and the rest will come this way. And that seems pretty natural. We can always divert things as more houses spawn. Here we have have a yellow spawning a little outside of this this group here, so I'm just going to do my best to sort of keep it connected to the group that's spawning here. And every time we have a new house that spawns, I just like to quickly adjust it and make sure, even if I don't know where it's going to end up going, that it's not preventing houses from spawning. So with, for instance, with this house over here, if the road is pointed downwards, we can't use it to make a house here. So I'll just connect it to this road. Similar idea with this house. I'm just going to point it next to this yellow house so that they can be connected to a road if they need to. Because you'll see later in the game, once the population starts really ramping up, it might not always be obvious as to how to feed things together if they're not connected. So I like to keep all these spawns as connected as possible. Alright, and then here I just did a nice little wraparound for the blue spawns. I might actually do a little bit of an inefficiency here, just to afford more space for spawning reds. But I can't, I need to block this space off because I can't afford to have a house spawn here. Unless I was to move, actually I could move my yellows like here. Okay, I'm gonna have to pause for a second while I clean this up because we need to fulfill this guy over here. So this is just gonna be a motorway. Hopefully, as the game progresses, we're going to be able to actually build a road, either a local road to this skyscraper or a local road to this block business. But in the meantime, this should do fine. Also need to remember to block off spawning areas like here and here, where I can't exactly afford to have a business spawn without some repercussions to my build. Alright, so we're getting some navy blue houses over here. Doesn't seem like the skyscraper is a huge issue at the moment, and this red spawn is actually quite favorable for me, because I'm hoping that it might end up pointing itself towards this skyscraper here. But we will see. More green houses. I think for now I'll just sort of combine these two. We might actually end up taking the outskirts here. So houses tend not to spawn on the outer rim of the map. It's not a golden rule, but typically the outskirts is like free real estate, if you will, where you shouldn't be afraid of building roads there because it doesn't actually prevent housing to spawn. You'll notice one thing that I like to do is make this diagonal road into the businesses. And if we look at how many roads I'm using right now, I have 34 available. If I was to draw my road like this with a 90-degree angle, I only have 33 available. I like to do the diagonal drawing if it ends up being the same thing at the end of the day. Alright, I'll take another motorway, even though I can see a bridge about to form, and I just want to make sure that these reds are still able to connect with each other. So there's actually two things that might end up happening here. First is that we could point this red down to this skyscraper. If I get one more red spawn down here, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But in the meantime, I do want to use a bridge, and I like to make my bridges use as much water space as possible, because when we use more water space, we have more space for housing, and I don't like using up... Actually, I might just connect this way. I don't like using the land for roads if I can avoid it, because one bridge only costs one bridge, and I have plenty of tiles to spare, so I don't mind the sort of inaccuracy in terms of how much road I'm actually using to supply this guy. So now we have actually a dual light blue skyscraper, so I might have to divert maybe just this house to this skyscraper here. And I think that should help a little. I'm actually gonna clean this up. I can see that I'm wasting a little bit of space. Doesn't seem like a huge deal, but every little bit helps. Alright, so we've made it to the 1,000 mark, and we're pretty well set up. This red could use a little fine-tuning. I think I'm going to end up building a bridge sort of diagonally this way. And then this is just going to require a little correction on the green road. And then this is going to feed in from here. It's really important that whenever I take away resources from this highway here, that I don't leave it connected. Because the last thing you want is houses going across the map to fill in to satisfy their needs. All right, so here we're going to do a little more adjusting. I'm going to use a bridge here eventually. For now, it's going to have to be a motorway because we cannot afford the bridge. But I'm going to erase this guy here, and then I'm going to connect these navy blue houses to the skyscraper. Normally, I like to use local roads for skyscrapers, but in this case, this is just too good of a local road to pass up on. And now I'm actually going to go ahead and, with my plan, and connect these red guys to this skyscraper. I could consider using a roundabout somewhere here to... Let's just make sure all of these are connected so I'm not wasting any spawns. I could use a roundabout if you're combining a highway with a local road, because there ends up being a lot of congestion when you're thinking about coming off the highway and combining with the local road. So a roundabout is a good idea there, but I'm not sure if in the late game that is the way things will look if I'll continue to supply this skyscraper with these red houses over here. But we will see. So here I'm actually going to... This yellow is probably not going to be used all game, although I'm seeing that this has become a skyscraper and I might need a few more supplies. These might actually become local roads for this skyscraper, and I think I'm actually going to sort of plan ahead for that one. So I don't know how to... This is going to have to be a bridge like this. So I'll build a bridge coming down the LA River over here, and then we'll have to combine here. But right now I'm just waiting for a bridge to make that dream a reality. Alright, we're getting more blue spawns over here that aren't being used, and I'm seeing a little bit of light blue trouble in the middle of the map. I don't think it's cause for concern just yet, but I am, just as a precaution, going to try and reroute one of these houses. Maybe we can like send this guy over here, and then we can divert this road this way. I think that's a good plan. All right, there we go. Because when I'm seeing two skyscrapers being sourced from the same location, one of them struggling, one of them is not, probably just an imbalance of resources that I was sending them. But I think eventually these light blue guys might team up and sort of come help this skyscraper. But for right now, I think there's not much of an issue with light blue. So I should start thinking about what I'm going to do with bridges. I talked about doing this sort of bridge for the navy blue, but it's not a pressing issue. We have 3 motorways, I think, to spare. So I think I'm going to go ahead and build this yellow bridge that I was talking about earlier, and connect that to the skyscraper. And again, I'm going to use as much waterway as possible. Obviously, this does block any sort of communication between the rivers, but it seems like this is the way it's going to end up at the end of the day. So we actually have a little bit of an intersection here, which isn't super clean, but I don't think it's cause for concern just yet. Alright, otherwise things are looking pretty good. I do want a bridge for this dark blue area here. And I might have to sort of rethink my red strategy in the middle of the map and maybe incorporate these light blues into this picture here. But for right now, I think everything looks pretty solid. I'm just making sure that if we end up doing this light blue strategy, that we can connect them on the top side over there. Alright, looks like these reds are still somewhat connected. And now we have our first case of like this red house not being able to be partnered with any of its neighboring reds. And this sort of thing happens, but it's a good thing that we earlier in the game decided to make our reds work together so they can all take the same highway if needed. Alright, so I'm starting to see a little bit of problem with blues here. So if I had a bridge, I would actually sort of use my bridge here to cut this way, and I think that could afford me a roundabout. Maybe here? I think for now, though, what I'll do is I'm going to thread this guy in to this business, and then we can sort of connect this traffic over here, and hopefully that should help with the skyscraper situation. And maybe we can then divert some more resources into the right side skyscraper. Or maybe even the this bottom blue block building seems to be having a little bit of trouble. But for now, I don't see any obvious improvements that we can make to our design. Maybe we can... Maybe we will send this guy down to that block building. It's important to note that whenever you make a road adjustment, you do need to wait for the cars to return to that house before they can start using that new road. So any sort of like micromanagement might not end up being as effective as you may think. So typically making changes too late into the game ends up causing you more harm than good. But a change like this, where I'm just reordering how the roads are working, ends up not normally making too big of a difference. So I think here, if I get another bridge, what I can do is actually build a bridge this way to connect to this road, because it seems like our right guy is really struggling. But I think for now, I'm just going to sort of do like an emergency little motorway here. I think that should help connect things to... Oh, wait a minute. These guys are actually servicing this skyscraper, which doesn't seem to be having an issue anyway. Yeah, so I think this is fine. I do need to start paying attention to some of my green activity. Let's see if I can make sense of what's going on in the middle of the map here. So I think I'm going to connect these greens together, and maybe this green over here can join in. Yep, looks like it can. And then I think I'm going to build another motorway over here just to help out. If we get more green spawns up top, we might actually do a local road to help out. Now I think it's time that we reclaim this motorway, because I am running low. I only have 2 left, and I would like to have more than 2 left. But I think this local road is going to be a good help for our struggling green business here, in addition to the motorway that I just added. Alright, another wasted green spawn, but I think that's okay. And we might want to add some sort of intersection management help here, but I don't think there's space for a roundabout here, so might be a lost cause. Let's quickly connect this green to that network as well, that highway network that I just built. And let's see what's going on with this blue guy here. I think me disconnecting too many blues from that network ended up hurting a little, so I'm just gonna redirect some of this here and make sure to disconnect from the motorway, because I only want one house feeding one thing. Oh, I forgot to build this bridge. Good thing that this is really close by, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But I'm sorry if that made you panic. Because it should make you panic if it didn't. Alright. I think everything else looks pretty good. We'll just run it. We can sort of gonna need to pay a little more attention here. This was really cutting it close. Let's see if we can help this skyscraper down here. Maybe if we just fed in some more houses there, that would help a little. I think with this yellow, we can actually feed this into this highway system up here. Some little clever mapping. So because I was joining these yellow roads earlier, we can get them to work together and hopefully send out support. I'm surprised that this green skyscraper is having any trouble, because we should be doing a good job of actually sending cars its way. Alright, now we got another bridge, which if I want to do this sort of plan, where I had like this guy bridge out, I could do, but I don't think it's super urgent actually. Just trying to think if there are improvements I can make to any of the businesses. So we'll play it a little more slowly to see what's going on. I know that maybe in order to fix this skyscraper situation, we might want to just send some cars from this guy, because this is still only a block building and it does have a motorway servicing it. So maybe this skyscraper just needs a little more support in that section. We could also try doing a little bit of road optimization, reducing the number of intersections. I don't actually know the math behind this, but I want to say that 3-way and 4-way intersections are worse than multiple 2-way intersections. But this is all conjecture and not proven. Alright, a lot of noise going on, but we are at 3.4 thousand, which is a good number to see. And I'm starting to think that we need to help our reds a little more. Also, this yellow could help out with this skyscraper. In addition to this yellow being connected to whatever this mess is. Oh, this is actually quite messy though. How do these yellows even get anywhere, I wonder? Oh, they're taking this bridge here. And that is being shared with these reds. So it's a little late in the game to be moving my motorways around, but I do have some spare motorways if I need them. This yellow should also connect to some network. We'll connect it to this one for now. But I think what I want to do in the meantime is pair up these light blues to some sort of skyscraper like this, and maybe this one can come around. Can't easily come around, to be honest. I'm thinking maybe there's a better way to connect light blues. It's a little hard to see what's going on in some areas of this map. I apologize, but we're gonna have to try and fix what is broken. In the meantime, I will just fast forward. Seems like this intersection isn't that big of a deal because these blues aren't super active in terms of servicing their business. So this light blue is able to go pretty easily through. And now that we actually have 2 light blues up here, I'm thinking it might actually start to make sense to build a big bridge around. Well, maybe we don't need to build it that far around. We can just wrap this in right like that, and that should help with this issue that we have going on here. This yellow still looks like a bit of an issue. I'm thinking maybe we do a bypass, an overpass really, with this a highway here, and then we can maybe connect them like that. Alright, we can actually pick up the traffic lights, but I'm low on road tiles. Not that I really need to build any super long roads at the moment, but it doesn't really matter what we end up taking. So again, this red house is probably not going to end up being used, so I'm just going to pair it with an existing road making sure that it's still blinking white, so that means that it's not actively being used to source anything. Looks like we're having a bit of a traffic jam in this yellow area here. It would be a good contender for a roundabout, but there is no space down there. So normally I'd like to use roundabouts to help with those sort of congested areas, but it doesn't seem like it would be super helpful at this point. All right. I think everything is about to blow up on me, so let's try and fix that, if that sounds good with you. All right, so we got a bunch of yellows going pretty long distance to this building, but this one is only serviced by 3, so I'm just gonna loop that one over there, and hopefully that helps a little. In the meantime, I think that these big parking lots should be fine. Things are quite chaotic. This might end up failing, but in the meantime, we're still doing good, and we have another bridge to work with if we need it. So I think this building is being a little bit dramatic, so I think we're going to spend some time and find where we might pair up yellows to this intersection. We don't actually have that many yellows, so I'm going to destroy some trees and open up some more spawning area. But I'm not sure if there is a very clear solution to that. I know that this yellow is not being used, but it seems like a bit of a waste to use an entire motorway just for something like this. But I think I will do it, just so that I don't accidentally lose. Every car helps, so I will do my best to help out, even if it creates an intersection that isn't super beneficial. Right, I think we're doing the best that we can. Let's just check for new housing. Things are blowing up all over the place, but it seems like we are staving off losing for now. This yellow has now been solved, so if I want, I can sort of delete this motorway and use it to help any other business that may be struggling. But in the meantime, I think I'm just going to run up the score. Oh, just got like 6 houses at the same time. What is that? I've never seen that. All right, I will get another bridge because there is really no space for roundabouts anymore. And let's see what our next big problem is. So we actually got a lot of red spawns. I don't know if it correlates with the red demand, but I don't think anything is quite blowing up. I'll play in slow motion for a little bit, and we should pair this blue here and this blue here. Sometimes it's hard to notice when the new buildings pop up. It is important to pay attention to the new houses so that you're not wasting any potential. If I want, I can actually sort of pair these reds together. It might be useful later on when we need to use our last motorway to sort of fix any broken infrastructure problems. So at this point in the game, it's a good idea to sort of look at some of your roads and make sure that you're not seeing any like surprises of cars using motorways that they shouldn't be. It looks like all my motorways are have a unique color and a general sense of purpose. Obviously, there's some more congested areas than others, but for the most part, it seems like there's no cars like just driving around town because there's some accidental connection. For instance, this red guy, I don't know where he's paired up to. I'll just follow the road, and it looks like he's actually paired to this. So I'm going to disconnect that because I don't think he's actually helping anyone. So we just want to make sure that our houses are white and blinking where we expect them to be and turned on where we don't expect them to be. I'll connect this green here. That seems like a pretty logical connection. And we're almost at 6,000. There's a lot of noise going on, and it seems like this motorway might actually end up being permanent. But maybe there's going to be a more helpful yellow later on. I can connect this yellow to this road, actually. Not sure if it really helps. But now we'll just get more bridges while we can. I don't think we'll end up using any of these bridges, but it certainly can't help. Can't hurt. I don't actually know what the best... I'll try this intersection style. Maybe do an intersection there as well. Alright, I think this yellow house here is still flowing in the desired direction. A lot of monitoring going on. I still have one motorway left to use if I decide that something needs help. And I'm thinking this red might actually be in trouble. Looks like I'm not making use of this road, or these roads actually. I might go ahead and point these reds together. Even if it makes well, maybe we don't need to point that one together. There we go. Just want to make sure that this red car is not actually being used. I think it crossed this intersection and it's waiting to return through this like translucent road here. But otherwise, I think everything is fine with that. So a lot of noise going on. I won't lie. It is a lot to take in. But I don't think anything is particularly concerning right now. It's just a little bit of maintenance to make sure that I'm making use of all the newly spawned houses. And making sure nothing is accidentally going to waste. I think this might actually be such a low traffic intersection that I think I'll be okay with that red-green intersection here. But doing an intersection here to get this red house there, probably not a great idea. Alright, it seems like destroying those trees didn't actually encourage any housing to spawn. Maybe we're at the point in the game where there is no need for more housing, which I have never gotten that far, but it seems like there are houses that are spawning. I'm just not noticing them very quickly because we're still seeing reds pop up near where businesses are, which is a good thing for me. Alright, we're getting close to my high score, which is around 7,900, and I think everything is in order. I would love to have this intersection not be a four-way stop, but I don't think those blues are going to blow up anytime soon. And at this point, I feel like there's not much improvement I could really make. I'm actually going to divert this over here because we did get another green for this skyscraper here. So I'll just take one off of this road and send it to this block, which seems to be struggling a little, so I'll send it whatever help I can. Alright, in the meantime, I guess we can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the bustling traffic of Los Angeles. There's no smog in this map, which is a little unrealistic. But if I had to be honest, I think that the lack of traffic lights and roundabouts and serpentine bridges is probably a little more unrealistic. But after all, this is mini motorway, and I can't expect 100% realism. Alright, let's go full speed. I don't think there's anything really blowing up. So maybe we've just won. I'm not super optimistic, but I've heard of people managing to go infinite, and I wonder if we've finally attained that point. Obviously, there's still houses spawning, so I don't think that the game is completely over. But I'm just going to sort of try to maintain any sort of new developments. But theoretically, I think these new developments should make the game easier instead of harder. This one actually might end up slowing down blue construction, so I think I'm actually going to do a bridge here to merge this way. So we don't have to worry as much about this blue not being supplied. The last thing I want is detrimental additions to my infrastructure. And sometimes that may happen if a house spawns and points towards a road that it shouldn't, in theory, be connected to. But just like that, I mean, we have passed 8,500 and no signs of slowing down except for this caterpillar of blue cars. But honestly, I don't think this skyscraper has been much of an issue. So, if game is not concerned, I am not concerned. I just have to behold this spaghetti jumbo mess in the middle. And I think that this four-way bridge intersection actually isn't very concerning. Oh, we got a new red spawn over here. I think it's naturally connected to where it should be, which is a good thing. This green ends up struggling, which I don't think it really is. We might point this greenhouse over that way. But in the meantime, I think I'm okay just letting the game sort things out. I want to say that this blue line is getting more and more congested at the entrance, but I don't think I quite have space for a roundabout. I mean, we can try, but I don't think this is actually a beneficial roundabout. So, fun fact, in this game, you get rewards at midnight or midnight Sunday or the beginning of Monday. But if you're currently building or right-clicking to see the grid, then you won't actually get the reward until you stop building. So technically, if you want to delay your reward and maybe see where more houses are spawning, you can hold right-click at the end of the week. But typically, I would say that you want your reward sooner rather than later. Oh, that's a pretty cool yellow spawn right there. Combine that to that road, and maybe that will allow us to do a little bit more of an efficient solution for this guy, which we already had to do like a one-off motorway for. Imagine having a personal motorway leaving your house to take you to your favorite yellow store. Yeah, we just breached 10,000 and no signs of slowing down. I really didn't think I would be able to get this far, and now we failed because of that four-way bridge intersection. But there we go, 10,318 commuters, 176 days. Didn't quite make it to a full year, but yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, I hope you learned something new about mini motorways, and I wish you luck when you try to beat your own scores. So take care, have a nice day, and bye-bye.